Welcome back to another episode of the Ink and Impact podcast. And today I am excited because this is a different kind of topic that we're sharing, and I'm really excited about it. But we have Gregg Bridgeman, coordinator of the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference, with us today. And I wanted to have him on now because the conference is coming up soon, October 12th through 14th, 2023, in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. So welcome, Gregg.
Thank you very much for having me. And before we started the show, I mentioned that I had actually read you before,
Yes.
and I'm very impressed with your work. Let me just
Oh,
put it that way.
thank you very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
You do great things to help a lot of people, so I appreciate it a lot, and it's genuinely an honor to be asked to be here today.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to have you. So, the Kentucky Christian Writers
Yeah.
Conference, tell us what that is and who it's for.
Well, it's got an incredible history. This year will actually be the 27th year.
Oh,
I think, like a lot of people, I kind of blacked out the whole pandemic years and didn't count them in. So I actually had my math wrong and was calling it the 24th. So once you add those 3 years that we didn't do it in person back in, it's actually the 27th year we've done this.
that's impressive.
Yeah, it really is. It's got a great history. We've had, gosh, over almost 3 decades now, we've had some impressive keynote speakers, some incredible classes and sessions. It is always in or near the Elizabethtown, Kentucky area, which is kind of right dead in the middle of the state of Kentucky. It's about 60 miles south of Louisville, about 12 miles south of Fort Knox. And really, kind of, if you're going to Elizabethtown from anywhere in Kentucky, you're about 2 hours away or less. So,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
yeah, it's a good drive. It's maybe an hour north of Bowling Green. They're actually building a giant Ford battery plant out there this time. So it's like supposed to be the largest battery plant on the planet, which is kind of fun because Bowling Green, of course, is the home to Mammoth Caves, which is the largest cave on the planet, like 400 miles of subterranean
Oh,
caverns.
that's cool.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty
people can plan to come early or stay after and do some
sure.
sightseeing.
Especially if they're aficionados of national parks, because that is definitely one of the national parks you got to hit while you're around.
Great.
But there's other features in Kentucky. If you're from out of state, of course, you know about the Ark, right? The Ark Encounter,
Yes.
the Creation Museum, things like that. We often go there and enjoy that. And there's an awful lot of other history in Kentucky, like Churchill Downs, and where they host the greatest race every year.
Yes. The
Uh,
Kentucky Derby, right?
absolutely, the Derby.
Yes.
Um, and wifey and I try to go every year. So there's a lot of interesting uh, things about Kentucky. There's actually a lot of really cool things to do if you wanted to come early or stay late. But of course, the important thing for October is the conference, the 12th to the
Absolutely.
14th. Um, we have some really fascinating things lined up. We have our keynote speaker this year is Diane Mills.
I'm excited about that. She's one of my favorite authors. And if any of the listeners are not familiar with Diane Mills, she is a best-selling author of suspense novels. Yeah, I've been a fan of hers for years. So how exciting to have her come as your keynote.
Yeah, it's awesome. And for those who may not know, I'm often called Mr. Hallie Bridgeman. My wife is actually best-selling author Hallie Bridgeman, who this past weekend in St. Louis received the 2023 Romantic Suspense Carol Award from
Oh,
American Christian Fiction Writers. So just
congratulations to
amazing.
her.
Absolutely, just fantastic. But we have more than that for you. In addition to Hallie being affiliated with this conference, Crystal Caudle is affiliated with this conference. Crystal Caudle was a American Christian Fiction Writers Carol Award finalist for her premiere novel, uh, um, Counterfeit Love. I was trying to say Confidential Love. Counterfeit Love was the title of it, um, which is just a fantastic read. And though she didn't get the award, she was one of three finalists, which is certainly no small accomplishment.
That's
for a
fantastic.
first novel out of the gate. So
Yes.
just fantastic, just wonderful. And Crystal is actually running our teen track this year. So let me talk about that.
Please do.
I don't know if any conference ever, especially not a Christian conference, I don't know, is doing what we're doing. But here's what we're doing. If you buy your ticket and then you know one or more children, I don't care if there's 20 of them. I don't care if they're your niece, your nephew, your neighbor, or your own child, age 10 to 17, who wants to write for Christ. They get complete, full, unrestricted access to the conference for just the cost of meals. $60.
Wow.
Yeah. We are so amazed.
I love that idea.
We every time we meet as a committee and as a board, we pray and we take this very seriously. Our mission is to encourage and uplift authors on their road to publication. And what occurred to me is Christ said in all of the Gospels, don't forbid the children from coming to me. Suffer the little children to come to me and forbid them not. Where is the red letters in the King James anyway? We don't want to forbid the children from coming, especially at that age, 10 to 17. You're old enough to know story and you're old enough to start honing your craft. And we want to sharpen their claws just as soon as possible so they can really dig into the secular world as quickly as possible.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah, it really is. And our venue is the Elizabethtown Community and Technical College for the second time. So
Nice.
last time we had it was 2019, and Susan May Warren was our keynote.
Yes.
And then everybody knows what happened after that. So we pivoted in 2020 to an all virtual conference, and Hallie and I have helped so many other Christian conferences and an adoption conference, for example. I think we stopped counting at 24 that we had helped do virtually in the meantime. But we just really, really wanted to come back to being in person.
There's nothing
And
like it.
yeah, having that personal connection, sharing a meal with somebody, networking with somebody over coffee or tea or soda or water or whatever. And this venue is so perfect because every classroom is set up as a classroom. So it's not set up as, the multifunction room where, you have the little,
Right.
the toys in the corner and stuff in a church. It's a classroom, and it's a dedicated classroom with teaching tools and a teaching environment. So it's got video, audio, comfortable classes, seating arrangement. It's well laid out and organized. In addition to that, we have this big auditorium and lots of multifunction rooms for the agent and editor meetings. But we also have access to a wonderful cafeteria. And because it is fall break time, the college is fully catering all of the meals.
Wonderful.
So when I say the kids are unrestricted, the young ladies and young men who we hope to entertain, have unrestricted the conference. They have access to all the classes, any of the classes they want to go to, any of the sessions, the worship, the keynotes, the prayer room, and the meals, the catered meals, for just the cost of meals. And it's actually, we're losing a little money on it, but it's $60 per kid. And it's not a one-to-one. Like you don't buy a full-time ticket and think you're restricted to one kid. If you have 3 kids that meet the criteria, $60 a kid, and that will feed them for the whole conference, and we will feed them spiritually, and we will pray for them, and we will encourage them, and we will teach them, and we'll see, we'll try to inspire them. We'll brainstorm with them. We'll pray with them, whatever needs to happen, to get them to the next level, whatever that means for them. So I would definitely encourage our attendees to look into that program. And all that to say this, Crystal Caudle is running our teen track. Crystal Caudle, ACFW Carroll Award finalist 2023 for her premier novel, Counterfeit Love, is running our teen track. They're not restricted to the teen track, but it might be something good to go to,
Right.
They can go to any class, but Crystal has spent a great deal of time customizing it for the needs of teens. And so I would really hope that we get just hundreds of kids there, just roughhousing and having a great time. That would be amazing.
That
Um,
is fabulous.
so another thing we're doing is spouses, because we want to support biblical marriage. Uh, and one of the things that I often quote is right from the second chapter of Genesis, where Adam, is put to sleep, and God takes his rib and makes the woman from his rib. Because she's not Eve at this point. She's the woman. She's not Eve until after the fall. But the first time that the first man sees the first woman, he says, this is an indirect translation from the Hebrew. He says, hubba hubba. But what we're told he says is, this then is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. And for this cause, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, and there shall be one flesh. And that is the first time we see prophecy in the Bible.
Mm.
Because neither Adam nor Eve had a mother and father, and yet they knew that that was God's plan for marriage, is that a man and woman would become one flesh, and it would be them against the world, them in a relationship with our Heavenly Father.
Mm.
And so we really want to support that, but not everyone's spouse is an author. For example, I'm not an author. My wife is. So a lot of times when I go to conferences, I'm kind of, eating the crumbs. What we want to do is set you up for success there too. So if you do want to bring your spouse, or your spouse does want to come, even though they're not participating in the sessions necessarily, we for $80, they'll get to join you at every mealtime and all the activities and fun at meal times and worship. And have access to other areas of the conference while classes are in session. So they're not totally out in the cold, not just kind of hoofing it on their own. Because I love having meals with my wife.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that the inspiration for many authors is that loving spouse, that supporting spouse. So we have activities planned, we have entertainment planned, we have an open mic night during dinner one night. So definitely come. The food is great. It's certainly a bargain at that price. So bring your spouse as well.
Those are all amazing things, and they definitely set your conference apart from so many, if not all, of the others that I've heard of. So how should attendees prepare for the conference? Is there anything that writers need to bring with them?
So we don't cater to just the fiction genre. We teach craft, business, fiction, and nonfiction. So it kind of depends on what you're writing, how you would best prepare, I think. One thing that I should mention is on Thursday, we have a separate intensive. It's a 4-hour intensive, and it's actually going to be taught by me. It'll be the only time I'm teaching, and by J.P. Robinson. And J.P. Robinson and I taught classes for years now. And the title of it was Men Are More Than Black and White. Very much with our tongues in our cheeks, because I'm very white and JP is very not. So, but we're both men. And so what we did is we confronted the issue of race, as has been very controversial and topical in our culture in recent years. But we've also coupled, at least in fiction, how to write men well, because by and large, the Christian fiction community right now is not male. Largely, it's female, and there are differences in the way that men think, in the way that men talk, in the way that men operate. And as a professional author, you want to get those differences right. And it's good that we are Christians and that we know that there are actually two sexes and two genders, and that we're different and we're created for purposes that God gave us. And, why not glorify that with your writing? So but that's not what we're doing this year. We're actually riffing off of that with a 4-hour intensive where we are going to cover the topic of race in a very encouraging and uplifting way, as we've done, and the topic of men and how to write men well. But we're also going to talk about life because a miraculous thing happened not long ago that I never thought would happen in my lifetime, to be honest with you, which was the Roe v. Wade decision got overturned. And how amazing is that? How wonderful is that? That genocide is no longer the rule of the land in our country. And so we want to talk about life and how important life is and how God values life and how to deal with it in today's modern culture, because statistically, 1 in 5 women of childbearing years has had one abortion. That's 20%. So if you're writing to that audience, how do you do it well? How do you do it to reach that heart, right? Whether they've had one, whether they're contemplating one, whatever the case is, we want to handle that. And we want to encourage folks to not shy away from that topic or pretend it doesn't exist. And lastly, we're going to tangle with the topic of identity, which is kind of in crisis right now, where you could just identify as whatever the heck you want. I'm going to get up this morning. Oh, you know what? I identify as a fighter jet this morning. So treat me like a fighter jet, or use my preferred adjectives, right? My secular vocation wants me to put my pronouns somewhere, right? I didn't. I put my adjectives. My adjectives are brilliant and handsome. So, in speaking with me, please address me as brilliant or handsome, just respectfully.
Love it.
Yeah. So we're going to have fun, and that's kind of an important point too. We're dealing with these cultural issues that are very controversial, but we are very diligent to make sure that we're going to present these issues in a family-friendly way, so that if any of the teens attend, which they would attend that session completely for free, we can be careful and sensitive to their age-appropriate learning, and at the same time give much needed value to the entire audience. But it's going to be prayerful, it's going to be encouraging and uplifting and informative. And JP and I have been working on this pretty hard. So I would encourage you to investigate that separate 4-hour intensive. If you can arrive early on Thursday, it's from 1 to 5, and it's $50 for 4 hours, and well worth the price of admission.
Yes.
You will be hopefully just walk out of there thinking, wow, this was worth the price of admission.
Love
and
that.
From there we get to go eat, so even better. So fantastic. But I think I've wandered all around your question without actually answering it.
So about what attendees should prepare, bring to the conference. But I think you mentioned earlier about agents and publishers. So should they bring a book proposal if that's something that you're wanting to meet with someone?
If you want to meet with an agent or an editor or a publisher, definitely bring a book proposal or two. I have a couple in the barrel. You want to probably investigate who's going to be there to see if it's appropriate. For example, I don't think we've ever had a large population of folks that do poetry or children's books. Those are kind of not what we do. We focus on, not that there's anything wrong with either of those.
Right.
It's just that that's not where we are. But there are folks there who have done children's books. There are folks there who have done poetry collections. So there's always networking opportunities. If you're pitching, though, you want to have a really sharp proposal. You want to have your good elevator pitch, which is about 3 sentences, about 30 seconds of here's what my book is about. And don't just throw it. Make sure they've got their glove ready and they've signaled you that they're ready for you to pitch.
That's an important tip right there.
You're going to throw the pitch at them and hit them in the face. So it's not a good acceptance there. Make sure that, I'd love to hear about your book. Well, hey, throw me a fastball. So yeah, pitch it. The other thing I would say is, if you have any special requirements or special accommodations, please let us know in advance, and we definitely want to work with you to make sure that happens. If, for example, we have folks that attend that have children with special needs, so we want to make the proper accommodations for that. We have folks that have special dietary requirements. We're not a perfume-free conference, sadly, but we do ask folks to be sensitive about the amount of stink they put on.
I think the word's aroma, Greg. Aroma.
Oh, okay. Fragrance. Yeah. Aroma to odor. you can put on a little too much polo, and I was a 14-year-old boy once, and I'm guilty of that myself. But it goes both ways. The perfume and the polo and the cologne and aftershave. Take it easy.
Yeah.
You're going to be in a little classroom, and folks have sensitivity, so be sensitive to that. The dress is business casual, except for the last day, Saturday. If you're traveling, obviously you probably just want to wear your traveling clothes, whatever that may be. And we're pretty lenient about that. But I would say don't go overboard on looking professional. We don't have a gala, so there's no need for gowns and tuxes. Um, but look professional. Present yourself as you want to be perceived. So plan well for that. Um, in order to prepare for the conference, I would I would definitely encourage you to start praying about what you know and what you don't know and what you want to learn and what you hope to gain, and see if God can meet you there, because He has over and over and over. So even with the amount of faculty that we have attending, which is amazing, we have just 26 years of faculty who have taught with us, and you might be surprised who shows up either virtually or in person during the conference. We might have some surprises for you in that regard too. So you might actually get to meet some folks who are award-winning best-selling authors in your genre. So maybe you want to pray about that, who you want to meet and who you want to talk to. Um, Preparing for conferences. If this is your first conference, we have a special track, which is So You're a Newbie, and we teach that twice. So I would definitely recommend you attend that. It's pretty comprehensive as to what you can get out of the conference and how you can get it out of it. The other thing I would say is and folks have been to conferences know what I'm talking about. When you leave, when you're done, you're going to feel like your head is a watermelon. It's just going to be full of information, like way information overload.
Yes.
That's normal. It'll settle down, like I think of it like a swirling vortex of water with leaves and stuff in it, and then it settles down and everything kind of settles down, and then you kind of sift through it, and you're able to swallow the meat and spit out the bones, if you will. But definitely understand that it's going to be a fire hose of information every time you go into these sessions, because the faculty only has like 45-50 minutes tops to teach you what they need to teach you, and they're packing that with just dense information, so as much as they can give you. So definitely take some value out of it.
Yes.
um,
Those are great, great points. Now, so if someone wanted to go but wasn't able to attend, is it going to be recorded? If you purchase your ticket price, can you get recordings, or how does that work?
so that's a question that's come up over and over, and I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to tell a story.
Okay.
So in 2020, we were planning to go to the Elizabethtown Community College for the second time, for the second year, and we just had such success in 2019 with Susan May Warner as a keynote, and just a lineup of amazing classes. And we loved the venue; it was hugely successful. Mm-hmm. And then what happened, right? And so what we were seeing happen is Christian writing conference after Christian writing conference, big ones, canceling, right? At the last minute, even oh, we can't do it. It's just too much. We can't do it. We really didn't want to cancel. And so what we did is got together prayerfully, and we asked our faculty if we were to flip to a virtual conference, would they be willing to lower or even donate back their speaker fee? And so many of them did. And we were able to then refund the travel that we had already paid for and things like that would have been a complete loss.
Yes.
And we made a lot of plans. I don't want to get too in depth about it, but we decided prayerfully that we would pivot to a virtual conference. We had no experience doing that. We had no idea what we were doing. We were inventing this as we went. And we didn't even know what to charge for it. And just the Holy Spirit spoke to us and said, you know what? It's 2020. let's charge just $20.20. That's our
Mm.
admission fee, and you can attend our virtual conference. And do you know that more than 300 people attended that conference?
Wow.
From Paris, Kentucky to Paris, France, literally all over the world, Australia, Canada, South America. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people attended that conference and just got so much out of it. And so, in the middle of all of this darkness, if you recall, we could be salt and light. And that's what we set out to do. And that's what we accomplished, I think. And so we've tried to continue that in 2021 and in 2022. But every time we really knew we were coming back to being in person. And that's our goal. So this year we are in person, and all of our energy and prayer and all of our activity has been dedicated to being in person. So we've had many people ask if we were going to do a virtual conference or a hybrid conference or record the conference. And to be honest with you, we've talked about all of that. Nothing is really set in stone right now. With our, we're completely, all of us are volunteers. None of us are paid. We give our facility, our faculty, a stipend, right, out of our proceeds, but we're a nonprofit, and everybody on the committee and everybody in the executive board is donating their time and their talents. And with our resources, we have our hands full just doing that.
Sure.
So we want to do that well. We want to win the battles we can win. And with the other things we're doing, with the teen track and with the spouse option and all these other things that we're trying to enable, we want to do it well, so that our return is to from virtual to an in-person conference is done really well.
I think that's
Yeah.
smart to
Yeah.
focus on the important thing, right? And what you're called to do. And if you feel led that that's what you are to do, then absolutely. I admire that.
Well, we've taken a lot of heat for it. We are working to try to, every time we meet, to make some accommodation for the folks that can't come. And it may be that we can announce something at the conference if we come up with something that is professional, well executed, and priced right too, because we want to be cost effective. We have one of the best price points in Christian conferences around the planet.
Yes.
And we want to keep it affordable. We're not making money off of it. It's a nonprofit. It's a labor of love. So if we did any kind of sold the recordings or something like that, it would also be affordable, but would have to be quality. It would have to be the quality that folks have come to expect from our conference.
Yes.
So I hope that answers your
It
question.
does.
Very,
Yes.
very roundabout way of answering it, but
No,
we've
it
actually
answers it.
taken a tremendous amount of heat for not doing a virtual conference.
And I can understand that because it's something that everyone has become accustomed to.
Sure.
But as someone who has attended virtual conferences while they were, what was necessary at the time, I think on the other hand, a lot of us are burnout.
Right.
And a lot of times we buy things that we really don't need. So if we were to buy recordings, we might not even listen to it or make the time for it or have good intentions to listen to it, but not actually listen to it. So I think that I personally feel from the people that I've been talking to that they crave being back in person. Yeah. And
I think it's needed. We did a study, Hallie and I did actually, about gathering together. And you just verse after verse after verse come together. Go to the women where they are together, go to the men where they are gathered, and it's just verse after verse after verse, starting with, the very early chapters, when there's enough people to actually gather, right? We're commanded to assemble, to be together, to be in community. It's how he designed us.
Yes.
So we should definitely encourage that, and not to say that a virtual presence isn't community, strictly speaking, but it isn't the same.
It isn't the same.
No, we're designed to look into each other's eyes and get each other's jokes, and
yes,
even smell each other's perfume. But that's what we want to go for, and if we can offer something else, we are looking at all of our options, and we'll probably announce that Thursday of the conference or something like that.
Great. Well, so everyone now is very excited to come in
Ah,
person and then bring their families. I love everything that you're offering for the families.
yeah.
So how can they register? Where do they go?
Oh, go to kychristianwriters.com. KY for Kentucky, not the jelly. kychristianwriters.com. And definitely
Yeah.
register away. Actually, the early bird just ended. But if
Okay.
you still want to save $50 on your admission price, register with a friend
Mm,
and you'll get the early bird price.
okay.
So it's kind of our buy one, our BOGO, right?
Yes.
Buy one, get one. Yeah, if you register with a friend, we also have special group rates. So if you
Okay.
are looking at bringing a group, let us know. We obviously can't reduce the cost of meals for the teens. That's actually not making anything on that,
No.
but if you if you're bringing groups of folks at the full price or the BOGO price, and it's more than say four, give us a call or an email and let us know. We'll definitely work with you on a group rate as well.
Mm,
We really just want people to fill it. Just fill the auditorium this year. Just fill every classroom and fill all the tables at the meal times, at the entertainment time. We have an amazing worship team lined up this year, so the worship is going to just be through the roof. It's going to be just a really good time. I feel it's important to begin these conferences with prayer and worship.
absolutely.
He is worthy of both, and we are very unworthy sometimes. So, surrender to Him, get what we need out of the conference, what He wants us to get, what He wants us to see. Um, I say I'm not a writer; I'm an editor, and I know a writer pretty well. Um, but there are an awful lot of people who have been associated with this conference over the years who are probably going to have positive things to say. So, for example, James Rhubarb,
Yes.
Liz Curtis Higgs, Cecil Murphy, all these folks, Pepper Basham, um, Brandolyn Collins. Brandolyn Collins actually did a short video about the conference already. It's on our YouTube channel. Um, Susan May Warren, Rachel Hauk, somebody named Hallie Bridgeman. You may not know her. All these guys know what we bring. It's like just a little great conference. Once you've been there, you understand.
Yeah.
There's just something special about it. There really is. We're serving our community as best we can. We're dedicated to that. The price is right. The timing's right. It's fall break. So what else you got to do? Go to the beach? Come on down.
That's right. Oh, I love that. I love everything that you shared. I'm looking at the website right now. There, every kind of thing that you can think to ask, it's answered right there on the website. They have all of the breakout sessions, the keynote sessions, all the details of who's speaking. It's so much information on the website. So be sure to go there and register, you and your family. And Gregg, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today and sharing about the conference.
It is again my honor to meet you. I've loved your writing from afar, uh, if you
Thank you.
will, and I
Yes.
wish you all the best in your writing journey. Thank you so much for supporting Christian authors. One thing that we kind of forget, if we're called to this work, like you are called to this work, right?
Yes.
Think about this. 50 years after you leave this world, somebody might find one of your books. Maybe it's in a bargain bin in Pocatello, Idaho, in a dime store. And they buy it and they take it home to read it. As a result, they come to know our Savior, or it encourages them in their faith walk, or it addresses a problem that they're dealing with. It speaks to their heart because your words are inspired by the Holy Spirit. Even though you've been gone for half a century, you still get to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And I'll take that over $1 any day.
Absolutely.
Isn't that amazing?
It
Isn't it
really is.
amazing the mission that we have? C.S. Lewis hasn't been alive for a lot longer than he actually lived, and yet his books are still changing lives.
They absolutely are.
Mere Christianity, A Grief Observed, The Chronicles of Narnia, Screwtape Letters. I can go on and on. You get my point. It's
Yeah.
when we leave an enduring legacy in words, it's enduring. and it's a legacy. And when you think about the power of word, God spoke the universe into existence with words.
He did.
So you get to use that creativity that he infused in you, Imagio Deo, the image of God. They breathed that into your existence, into our existence, right? Spiritus, the divine breath. And we get to use his creativity in his image to leave that enduring legacy and to leave a mark on this fallen world. And that is not only an important mission, it is an essential mission. Our theme this year is unscrambled because we've been scrambled for many years now, and it seems to just be getting worse. They're not only mixing the letters up now, they're mixing the colors up. We want to get unscrambled. We want to help bring two things to this world: hope and truth, because we know that hope is a person. We'd like to make that introduction. And we know that truth is the reason that Christ was born and the reason that he came into this world. What he said to Pilate: for this reason I was born, for this reason I came into the world, to testify to the truth. And what did Pilate say? Oh, what's truth? Right? But we know what's true. When we hear truth, it rings like a bell. So come get unscrambled with us in October in Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been such an encouraging conversation on so many levels. And I truly hope, listeners, that you will go register. And again, Gregg, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
You too. God bless you.
Thank you.